Hello again, friends, and welcome back to yet another episode discussing Nalbinding that's not a tutorial. Just before Christmas, I embarked on a bit of an adventure, let's call it that. Quite frequently I get told when I'm at events that it'd be so much easier if I used thicker yarn, or it'd be so much more time efficient, or what have you. They've always got a suggestion about using a thicker yarn to work with Nalbinding. And look, to those who want to, that's totally cool. If that's your jam, I support you, and feel free to show me your lovely pieces of work. I absolutely love seeing other people taking on the hobby and just running with it. For me though, it's always been a bit of a challenge to deal with the chunky yarns. I suppose as one of my own hang-ups, in that when we look at the archaeological record, there is no chunky yarn. There is no single spun, as far as I can remember in any of my researching. It's all plied yarn, it's all much finer, we're talking finer even than the 8 ply that I use in the tutorials. The needlework is much smaller. Excuse you. Now I've forgotten what I was saying. I swear sometimes the work is never ending. Okay. I think we're good. Where was I up to? I don't remember. Looking at the historical record. Yeah, that's the thing. Anyway, so the point is, I generally don't work with chunky yarns. It's just not my thing. Not my jam. But given how many people have commented that they think I should try it, well, I took the dive and I got some chunky yarn, all pure wool of course, and I decided to give it a shot. And quite frankly, I'm not sold. Again, let me reiterate, if this is your jam, that's cool. I'm just not digging it. It's not for me. But in the interest of giving it a fair shot, I actually made 2 beanies, and I think I have enough yarn left over that I might even be able to make a third, just to make sure that nothing goes to waste. Let's have a look at the 2 that I made. I started with my favourite York stitch. This one highlighted some challenges to me straight away, in that the yarn being a single spun and being wool was incredibly grippy. It almost tried to felt itself together as I was making it, which in the interest of warmth, yeah, felting your hat is a great idea. The problem with it was it made it really difficult to have enough yarn on my needle at any given time that I wasn't utterly frustrated with. Having too much yarn on the needle meant that it was felting on the needle to itself as it was being pulled through the stitches. Having not enough, I was constantly having to splice the yarn together, and that just drove me batty. So already I was getting annoyed. I was getting really annoyed. But overall, I mean, it's a nice thick material because of how thick the yarn was, when York can at times be quite thin compared to other stitches. The yarn is quite forgiving in your tension, like if one stitch is not as tight as the next, you don't really notice it too much. And look, it's not uncomfortable to wear. It's probably going to be quite nice if I choose to make another one like this for winter. But I probably won't make it in pink. So that was the York stitch one. Then we got to Oslo stitch. Decided to do one in a different stitch with different pattern, just to give everything a fair go. Maybe York stitch isn't right for this yarn. Oslo was worse. The fact that you have to manipulate the needle and the yarn through additional work it just made the yarn even more prone to felting on the needle and as you go. So if you make a mistake, it's harder to undo. I found it quite interesting going with rather than trying to make sure that my rows joined up perfectly with the color changes, I just decided to go through and splice as normal so you can actually see the joins, and it's so much more noticeable because of how thick each row is. So that was challenging. Would you please stop it? So yeah, that was challenging. Just acknowledging the fact that my rows weren't going to be as neat and nice and tidy. It feels a little stiffer in the material. Oslo will normally feel a bit stiffer in the material than York because York is a fair bit looser. But not unpleasantly so. It's just a bit stiffer, that's all. I do think though that if and when this felts up, it's going to create a denser material than maybe the York will, just because of that extra work that goes into the actual stitch. For the purposes of keeping your head warm, yeah, okay, this yarn is pretty good. It's nice and thick and it felts well, so you've got some ticks there, some positives. But for me personally, this is not a yarn I enjoyed working with. This is not a yarn I will seek out in the future. And it is not a yarn that I will work on often if I can avoid it. Now that's just my personal opinion. Feel free to leave further advice in the comments, but don't be surprised if I don't take you up on that advice very often or at all. It wasn't as enjoyable an experience for me, but if you do enjoy it, power to you. I definitely want to see what you make with this sort of stuff. Maybe I've missed something. Maybe the suggestions that I've gotten were not complete suggestions, and maybe there's a little bit of a trick to it. If you know a trick to it that will make it enjoyable, let me know in the comments. If there's enough of a reason for me to try again, I will. But for now, I'm quite content as I am with my 8-ply yarn or thinner, with my basic bone needle, and closer to historical accuracy methods. So I hope that helps. If you're finding these discussion videos as helpful as the tutorial ones, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what else you'd like to see me talk about on the topic, or if indeed there is another topic you'd like to see me discuss. I'm more than happy to have conversations with you on this platform, and hopefully we can share some knowledge and learn a thing or two. That's all for today. Bye for now.